What's up guys? Welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Alicia, and today I want to share with you the habits that I wish I had started from the very first day of med school. So let's get right into the video. First one is probably going to be obvious and probably something that you've heard before, but you might not realize just how much of a difference it makes. And that is getting up early. So everyone's definition of early is different. I do know some people who'll get up at like 4:30, and it's not because they're on a surgery rotation, it's because they just get started that early. Now, I'm not as insane and as intense as those people, props to you. But in my first semester, I would get up probably around 7 or 8, but that made for a lot of really late nights. I think a lot of people have this idea in their head of like, you know, I'm gonna be doing all-nighters every night, or at least staying up past midnight every night and getting up really early and just be in this perpetual cycle of being exhausted. And I definitely don't think that has to be the case. It definitely wasn't for me, especially second semester. So for me, second semester, I started getting up around 5:30-ish, and then aiming to start my routine for the day at 6. And it made a world of a difference. So I'm definitely not a morning person, but I think anyone can kind of become a morning person if they get a routine down that allows them to get to sleep at a decent time. So I would try to be in bed by like 10:30 or 10:45 at the latest, and then be up at 5:30 and get my day started. Number 2, use question banks as soon as possible. I didn't really get into question banks, again, probably until second semester. And that makes a big difference. I would say, honestly, just seeing the most possible practice questions is going to be the factor that has the most direct correlation to your performance on tests and quizzes. I promise you, like, you can do Anki cards on the slides all you want, and you will be learning something. Like, any kind of active recall is good, but until you start training your brain how to think and how to process med school like questions, you're not gonna get 100% there. Some of the question banks that I recommend for your preclinical years, USMLE-RX is really good. Osmosis has really good questions. Exam Master, those are my favorites. If you've watched my other videos, you know I always talk about those. But if you know of a good question bank out there, go ahead and leave it in the comments down below, but those are the ones that I really love. And then of course, UWorld. So this kind of brings me into my next point, which is I wish I had started using board prep material day 1 of med school. I did not start using Boards and Beyond until second semester. I guess technically Sketchy is a boards prep resource. I did use that first semester. But yeah, things like Boards and Beyond, UWorld question bank. So this one is twofold. Definitely start using first aid in your first year, and also start annotating it. So I bought first aid because everyone said like, it's incredible, it's amazing, you're gonna need it. But I didn't really open it, more so because I think I was dealing with like resource overload, where it's like, you just wanna try all these things that everyone says, you know, are amazing, and you get overwhelmed and you're like, I just don't have time to crack open another book, to look at another video or anything. And honestly, that was a mistake, because first aid is so good at summarizing very quickly things that probably were an entire lecture's worth of material. Annotating. This really will come in handy when I am doing my dedicated step studying, and this is not a process you want to have to go back and do later because it's tedious. But when you do it little by little along the way, it really makes a big difference. So there is no one correct way to annotate. I think it really just depends on what type of learner you are. But one thing that I did do was I put these little tabs on here, and that kind of divides the book up, just so that I don't have to go to the table of contents every time and look for the system that I want. The purpose of this should be to kind of consolidate all of your high yield information in one resource. So first aid is a great like foundation for that, because it is a high yield study guide. But for example, if you like to watch Boards and Beyond with your lectures, and Boards and Beyond makes a point that just kind of made something stick really well for you, or maybe expands on what's in first aid, and you don't want to have to like search through Boards and Beyond to find it again, what you would do is, while you're watching your Boards and Beyond video or Sketchy or whatever, you're looking along in first aid at what section you're in, and you're just making your notes, highlighting what's important. I have a color coding system. Everything written in blue is something that I saw on Boards and Beyond. Everything in red is just something that's really important, or like symptoms, so like things to be on the lookout for. When you annotate this, you are taking the most important parts of all the resources that you are using and you're representing them somewhere on the page in first aid, so that all you have to do is find the page in first aid and you have everything. The last thing that I wish I'd started doing from day one of med school was doing question sets in a group leading up to a test. So group studying is not for everyone. I would say give it a try and see if it works for you. Once you've learned the material and you're leading up to a test, I would highly recommend doing just blocks of questions with a group, because sometimes when you're talking about the question out loud and trying to rule out answer choices, your classmates may say something that makes something click in a way that you just like didn't see it before, and that will stick with you. So that's all I have for you guys today. This was kind of a short video, but I wanted to keep it short and sweet and to the point. I also wanted to get this out because I know a lot of my first years may have already started the school year or are about to start the school year. So I hope you found this helpful. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, leave them down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.